when they get in a situation and you're not there, and something's going on that they're not comfortable with, if they've learned at home how to say, "Woo, I need a minute. I'm not 100% comfortable right now, I'm gonna go." They learn it at home, and they'll do it in life. That's a strong, empowering thing to teach our kids. Teach them to be able to leave situations. And then stay involved. Stay involved in their lives. Isolation makes it easier for a trafficker to just weave themselves into the life of a kid. A lot of punishment, discipline is, no, you can't go. You're grounded. Don't let the kid be grounded from family night at grandma's. Don't let the kid be grounded from the families going out to dinner and you're staying home because you're grounded. Don't break the relationship. They're grounded from whatever else. But maintain that relationship. That's the most important thing. Because when there's a break in that relationship, a predator can get in there. So, now, does anybody have any questions for me, or for Guy, or Pastor Mike, or for Ian, or Craig? Don't everybody ask at once.
Any questions? Hey, Craig, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
30 years, with social services, with some of the things you saw, what do you think some of the most vulnerable reasons vulnerability took place among those who you worked with all the time?
The biggest thing I saw was the isolation aspect, away from friends, away from family. The family connection turns into anger, it turns into animosity, it turns into just a rebellion against the parents. And the parents think it's a normal teenage thing that's happening, where the kid is stuck in this dark, dark world that they have no idea how to get out of. So if your child shuts down, doesn't want to talk to you, doesn't want to be part of the family anymore, and everything is negative in their world, could be a reason for that. So that's when you need to dive in, get to know your child even more. Look at the social media contacts, look at the gaming, look at whatever they're doing, and find out what the catalyst is for this new behavior, for this new direction they're headed. And don't let them go down that way.
Very good. I know on the trafficking side, now there's a whole lot of horrible that happens that isn't just related to trafficking that this information is relevant with as well, of course. But the number one risk factor, I'm 22 years into this now, and there's a lot of things, red flags that lead toward different types of exploitation, socioeconomic and different aspects of culture and isolation. But the number one risk factor for a lot of things ends up being self-esteem, right? And self-esteem gets built into these family structures primarily. That's what they're meant for, right? That you are valuable, right? You are loved. Your identity doesn't have to take place from somebody else's affection other than these family units and a faith community that can love on you. Self-esteem becomes the very thing predators will target, like you heard aspects of that, in both these trainings, right? Oh, your dad doesn't understand you like I do, or whatever it is. That's where social media, where you got to tighten the reins on some of this, because they end up having conversations with people who don't have a clue who you are, but feel like they have a connection with you because I just had a fight with my dad. I just put it out there on social media. No wonder this 12-year-old who's actually 40, which happens a lot more than you think, is taking place. And it can happen on any app. I mean, ICAC was talking to us, Internet Crimes Against Children, was talking to Aaron and I recently, and and the Bible app was being used to recruit and groom some kids as well, right? Which makes sense when it's like, hey, if your kids have access to the world, if we have access to the world, the reverse is true as well, right? So you remember what he said when he was training earlier on. He's like, well, hey, you know, he wasn't throwing the actual app in as evil. He's just saying it's a platform, you know, that creates some vulnerabilities here. That, whether that's, you know, social media or the Bible app, which now more and more access social media as well, right? You can communicate coming and going. So none of this is meant to freak us all out and circle the wagons. It's meant to kind of go, okay, now I know what I'm dealing with. How do I best empower my kids? And as a father, speaking to the dads here, right? How do I have a strong, growing relationship with my kids so that my sons might know how the fairer sex should be treated? And if I have daughters, that they have all the appropriate love and affection they need from me as a father. Because you don't have to be an abusive man to create a vulnerability. You just can be absent, not present, right? Not loving on those who are in your household. So there's a lot of ways we want to build stronger families. Again, you know, there's 100 different ways we could approach just the couple hours we were going to have here. But self-esteem is so important, and the fact you guys are here, even as family units today, and if you're here and you're not part of a family unit, you're just trying to figure things out, or your parents just dump you at the door and say, come in, I want you to learn something. We do want you to learn something, how to protect yourself, but we also want to know you're valued here. Pastor Jason back here, he's the youth pastor of this church. Pastor Jason, in all your work, middle school, high school, working with the school, and all your activity there, what are some of the things you would want to communicate, you know, to the families and to the kids in the room as far as, you know, how they can develop that side of things?
Yeah, I would say that sometimes it takes a village to help your children, and so we're here as a support. Kids always come first to us on the youth ministry side, and so we're here to work alongside you, and sometimes it may not feel that way, like, you know, we because, you know, we get the side of like, my parents don't understand, but we also take that with a grain of salt, because it could just be that's how they're feeling in the moment, which doesn't take away that feeling, but also there's also another side to that story as a dad myself, you know. So we're here to work alongside you and want to help the family, you know, and so that's what's awesome.
And I know that to be true. And so, and if you find yourself, or if you have a friend, hey, if you're here and you're like, hey, you know, I have all the things with my family that you guys are saying I need, but I have friends that are in tough situations and they need some attention. You know, pastors, including like a Pastor Jason, become a safe place to tell that story where real help can get to, because, you know, we're mandatory reporters when we hear things. That's probably a training for another day as far as what that means and what that looks like, and that can be part of what we send out to all of you before is, you know, not only do you need a safe place to tell your story, but you need to know that what that entails. My friend needs help. I know I can get help if I talk to Pastor Jason to the situation, or, you know, anyone from this church, or your teacher, or your principal, or whatever that might look like. So, thanks, Jason, for being present there. You got anything you want to jump in with Ian? Ian's done a lot of work with homeless youth and you know, actually the resort areas around here. Is there anything you'd want to throw into the mix?
You know what? The fact that you're here is everything. The fact that you're here with your kids is everything. That's exactly what everybody's saying. Your parents don't understand. That is going to be the fuel that's going to light the fire for a trafficker to come after. Just quick raise of hands. Who's between 13 and 15 years old? I can't see. I'm blind and old.
Decent number.
Just so you know, study came out in Las Vegas. You are the average age of a sex trafficking victim here. 100%. big search comes out, when you start seeing that list, I just spoke on a panel yesterday with the Attorney General, we had the FBI, we had Vice, and all of this. And the one thing that I kind of want to leave you with is do what Rhonda did. Do what was done to her. You see that kid, say, I see you. And that's all it takes. Honestly, you will open somebody's eyes to where they might say something to you. Because that panel that I'm talking about with all the law enforcement, what we do is we assist Free International by getting the kids' faces out basically to all of Las Vegas with the resorts, transportation, because they're in danger. They're in trouble. They are legally missing and being sexually exploited. They were once in your seat saying, that'll never happen to me. And when you encounter law enforcement, people on the big search, let this hit home. It's too late. It's already happened to you. So what Rhonda is saying, what ICAC is saying on these preventative measures, take them to heart. If it scares you, let it scare you a little bit, but it makes you smarter. Sometimes it makes you sharper, a little more wise to it. And share that with your friends, because you're gonna be their best warrior. Chances are you guys aren't gonna listen to adults. My kids don't listen to me, I know that. I get their friends to get them to do what I want them to do. I figured that out. Same thing, but use yourself as the advocate, as the power, and that's how it's gonna get done.
Stuff. And, yeah, look at that. Standing O for Ian back there. Any questions? I'm gonna throw it to a couple other people here in a second for comments as well, but do you guys have any questions off what you have? Again, this is the wide end of the funnel. This is just the beginning of resources that we can put in your hands as much as you want, like a fire hose, you can drink from. And just want to connect you to faces that you can approach, for safe conversations as well. But if you have any questions off any of the stuff that happened today, anything? No? All right, Guy, I'm going to ask you a question. So Guy, for decades here, has been active in our neighborhoods in the city, families of mixed families, broken families, no families, the importance of being present in all the content you got today in a preventative sense. How can our families be best engaged? And I want you thinking about that as well, Katrina, since you're kind of navigating that on behalf of this church as well. How can the families you see here who care to empower their own families best use the strength of their family to help in our city?
Well, I think first of all, thank you, Mike, for putting this on. This is incredible information. I think the first thing that we can do, not just for our families, but for all the families we know, like, and love. I mean, think about it. Each one of us in here knows probably at least 100 families with children. They need to know this. And we need to be, we need to stop being so passive and putting our head in the sand. We need to start reaching out to everybody we know and say, hey, I went to the Family Empowerment Summit. Here's 10 things you need to know about child trafficking. Here's 5 powerful ways that families can protect their children from predators. If you look at this, anybody who reads this sheet right here, they're gonna want to know more. And that opens the door for you to get involved and involve other families in this, because the best things in life happen in community. We have a great community in Las Vegas. You're looking at a lot of the core in that. And what we need is more people who are committed to doing whatever it is that God puts on their heart to be able to be part of the solution. We have way too many people being part of the problem.
Vegas is, like I said earlier, globally known for being part of the problem. Our city has groomed us all, if we've lived here for any length of time, on what it values, right? I can drive up to 15, and there are, I'll use the word gentlemen loosely, gentlemen's clubs up to 15 that are advertising for the graduating class of the high school to come try out in those places. And it's seen as cheeky, oh, that's so Vegas, right? Fremont Street, other places that we do a lot of work at all the time are littered with kids from our own city. They're not just being brought in from other places. These are our kids that we interact with, you know, whether we're part of this school or not on an ongoing basis. So the fact you are here, like I was saying, and you care, and you're connected into the community at any level, means we can change that reputation and the dynamic of those who exist in our town, because these are our kids, this is our city, and this is why we care. This is why we show up for our family, first and foremost, and then having our family make an impact on this city, known for what it is a big deal. It's a big deal. Aaron, let me ask you, we referred, why don't you come up here and talk about the men's conference real quick, and then I'm gonna talk just for like a minute or two just about the big search coming up, and then we're gonna be done. But then we'll hang out if you're not, you know, all gangbusters about, well, let me do this first, Aaron. Katrina, as the outreach pastor of this church, what are some of the things you would say to this room? Because I don't think everybody goes to this church or maybe connected to the school. They may or may not. What are opportunities people have, whether they're part of the church or not, to do some good in the neighborhood here for what we're talking about?
Well, first of all, if we're talking about this, I think that each one of you, like Guy already said, we are going to be sending the PDF that from the police officer from IPAC said that the resources that you can share with everybody you know, the contacts that you can reach out to, right? That you can see what is available, and you can share that with everybody that you know, because you have children, most of you. That's why you're here, and your children have friends. So that would be one thing that you can do, is to reach out to the people that you know. That's incredibly important to do that. I mean, we appreciate families. We want families to come here, of course, but we want you to go wherever you go to church. If it's not here that you go to church, we want you to reach out to those people, because we are faith-based, obviously. We love Jesus, but we want you to be able to reach out to those around you. And we love people because we want them to know that God loves them. We want you to know that God loves you, but we also believe that people need to, reach out to their community. So we're going to be doing things here at this church to reach out to the community around us, and I'm excited about that. And so just keep your ears and eyes open to what's going on. And we love free. We're going to do things with free, and he's going to be talking to you soon about what's happening. Erica, something coming up that we want to partner with him, and we're going to be talking to Guy about doing some things in the community.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, there's no lack of opportunity to get engaged in this town. And the more this town grows, my word, I've lived here over 15 years now, and I think there's 1 million new people here just since I moved here, right? Town's exploding, and as somebody who lived in New York City for a while too, oftentimes the more a place explodes, the more isolated we all get. We kind of rope ourselves off, right? And healthy community that has been beat to death this morning is so important for us to be engaged in. And one of the ways we want to continue to build on that too is a focus on our men. Aaron's going to talk about an event coming out for the men. I'm going to do a little brief thing on the big search, and we'll call it a day.
Well, it won't take long, but our next event with Free International is going to be a Las Vegas Men's Conference. And so there's 3 different cards that I have for this, but the reason why this started was because Mike and I, several years ago, were on the Southern Nevada Human Trafficking Task Force, helping to build resources into the community. And there was just a few of us guys on this task force with a whole bunch of other ladies, and they would talk about the abuse, they would talk about the exploitation, the things that they experienced, and the things that they had to walk through in life. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, sat with Mike, sat with a couple other guys on this task force, and we were like, okay, how can we begin to flip this script? How can we begin to call on men, because that's where the demand comes from, right? Anybody? So 96% of the demand for child prostitution comes from men. So how can we begin to impact into this area? So since we were part of the faith community, we were like, okay, can we begin to actively engage, communicate to, challenge, equip men in the faith community, or we can ask them to be in miracle to end this. So 9 years ago, we started the Las Vegas Men's Conference, where the focus of it was to ask men, call on men in the faith community to be a miracle to end this. Do you know that we have a problem with this in the church?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trafficking happens in the church. There are groomers in the church. If I can be very vulnerable with you, we just kicked another one out this last weekend in my church because we recognized the signs of what he was there for. He was a predator using the church because the church has needs in children's ministries, in youth ministries. They've got needs, and sometimes we just don't vet our volunteers the way we should. My church, 2 of them. So what we are doing is we're looking to rally the community for a men's conference. And so every guy in here, I want to get you this card. It's the Green Ace of Spades, all right? So this is a registration card where we are asking all the guys that we can to get involved with this men's conference. The Nostalgia Street Rods is partnering with us. We've got several community groups that are partnering with us to bring guys to this event. This goal this year is 1,500 men at the event, which is Friday, March 13th at International Church up in Summerlin. And so we would love to get as many guys to be a part of that. There's a $15 registration, but I want to make sure every guy gets this green card right here to register. This church is going to be a part of it. So if you are part of this church, hopefully, prayerfully, you'll be hearing a lot about this. The second card is if you are here and you're a nonprofit, you're an NGO, we have got tables. We want this to be heavily resourced. We want it to be a win-win for community groups. So if you are here and you've got a nonprofit, this is the card for all nonprofits. They come for free. All the men that you bring come for free for that. And if you're here, you're a business owner and would like to participate, possibly sponsor this thing to help us cover our shortfalls, the Jack of Diamonds goes to you for sponsorships, and then all the men that you bring are for free. So this men's conference is my passion in this, as well as the family empowerments and everything that we do, because we know that if we capture the heart of men and we're able to call men to function well into the call of God on their life for themselves, for their families, and for their kids, we will see a social impact. We will see a social shift in this. And that's what I am believing God for, is nothing less than a social shift in the city of Las Vegas, so that other cities around the nation will say, why are we seeing child exploitation? Why are we seeing pornography usage? Why are we seeing this massive decrease in these areas? It's because men are functioning in the call of God on their life. That's what this event is about. It's going to be very high impact. It's going to be very, it's going to be an incredible event that night. So guys, I want to make sure that we all get this green card. And if you can see me, if you're an NGO or a business owner, would like to participate, we got the cards for that as well too. So, all right. Thanks, Mike.
We and Aaron have a 5-year goal on this men's event for 10,000 people up at Freedom Park at the baseball stadium. But it's one step at a time, right? Man, we just got to show up. I went to a thing about a decade ago. Craig, I don't remember. I think they still do it, but annually there would be an event that supported families of serious crimes, right? Families of victims of serious crimes. And it was a pretty big event in the park. I think there was about 1,500 people when I went to it the first time. And the first time I went there, out of the 1,500 people that were at this event in the park to support families who'd gone through some serious crime, there was 3 men there that weren't either a politician or a cop, or like myself that was there with a not-for-profit. It was all, or was a family member that was there to be served. No men. And that frustrated me a little bit, not in an angry way, but it's like, we need to find ways as men to be present in this city on behalf of those who so need us. And so this will be a starting point for that. Now, just to close this time off, one of the things a lot of people who connect with Free International with has been part of a thing we call the Big Search. Started as a Super Bowl outreach back in 2009. We mobilize in city. We used to go to every Super Bowl city during the Super Bowl week on behalf of federal law enforcement and other groups, and mobilize primarily churches and the not-for-profit base in that town to canvass the city, and then use our own skill sets on our team. We have a lot of really high-end skill sets on the team to work on the backside to find the most vulnerable, trafficked, and missing kids in that city. Over the years, we've found hundreds of kids doing that. I'm going to show you a post just from November. We did an event in Florida working with the U.S. Marshals. Over 10 days, it made national news. We found 43 kids over 10 days, most of whom were at high risk or being trafficked in their situation. There's that article. Just all over the country. And people always say, man, how do you find so many kids? And the simple answer is we were looking for them, right? And these big searches are the times we work with the community to take in community volunteers to push that out. So I'm going to show you a quick video, and then I'm just going to meet you in the lobby if you guys want to volunteer, get your work, employment, or people or friends involved with this. It's coming up next Thursday and Friday for our volunteer blocks, but why don't you show that video real quick.
So whenever we engage in a community to establish our Big Search, part of the process is building relationships with local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and even federal agencies in that region. We're going to find those missing child cases that they have actively operating, and we're going to start working our teams conducting the intelligence necessary to hopefully locate that child. In the process, we're going to build canvassing or flyer distribution material and have that ready for our community to engage. This is that opportunity for the church. So we have intelligence analysis teams that are working the cases behind the scenes. We have other operations teams that are made up of our shepherds that are working behind the scene. But the church itself and their missing child response team that we will build is going to be the face to all of this. They're the ones that's going to be out there in the community sharing all of this information about missing children. And as they get leads and tips about those missing kids, all of that's being formalized into an official report that is now submitted back to your local law enforcement agencies for them to go locate that child.
We've been doing big searches now for almost 16 years. It's amazing what God can do when an engaged church is in the middle of the need, reaching those needs for the glory of God. So in a nutshell, that's the big search. And in Vegas, we're at 18 years now doing these big searches. We have every agency that can work with us, working with us. We have a letter of understanding, a contract with DFS now to be able to share information so that we can find our missing kids in this town. And I've focused on the most. We have the beginning of our flyer going. You can just flip through those slides to see what we're asking people who want to work with us to hand out throughout the city as the kids that we're looking for. We have an immediate response. We have federal, local, state law enforcement all working with us on this. And for the full week after the canvassing next weekend, we're going to be following up with all that information to find these kids. We find 10, 12, 15, 24, 34 kids every time we do this. And the cool part about it is, the question is, when you find them, then what? Well, part of the process of this and working with DFS and those agencies up front is we get to work a plan of real help and real better options on the backside once we find them. We're not taken off guard by what the needs are once we find these children, because we already know what they are. We get to pour that love into those homes and into those households. I got 1,000 stories I can tell about all that. I'm not going to tell any of them right now, unless you want to hang out in the lobby and hear some. But we have 4 volunteer opportunities next Thursday and Friday from 10 to noon. and from 2 to 4 on both those days. If you want to get involved with going into the community, helping us get this information out into the community, we're going to find these kids. And then working with churches like this and on an ongoing basis with what we do, we tie in mentorships and other proactive ways we can serve those families in the middle of their own needs as part of churches and people like you. So if you want to be involved with any of that, can be involved with any of it, I'll get asked, hey, can we bring our kids? You need to be at least 16 years old to do this. It's not my choice. It's insurance liability demands. So yes, if they're 16 and over, but before you leave, actually, if you email me at the card I have out there, it's just info@freeinternational.org, and say, hey, we want to be a part of the Big Search, I'll float you to where you can register for that. Sound good? Thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I'm going to close this off in prayer, and hopefully all the information you have today has been useful for you to be empowered with your family or help empower another family to protect our kids, and not just protect, but empower us to make an impact among those God has placed in our path. Heavenly Father, thank you for the room. Thank you for everything that's represented here. Lord, if we put a pin in the map for just the people in this room, where we live, where we go to school, where we travel for work, and we cover a big part of this global city. Lord, give us eyes to see. Give us wisdom to understand how to navigate and build stronger families. Strengthen us as men to be the miracle on behalf of the exploited in this city. And strengthen every person in this room for your glory, to be present in this sin city with light, with grace, and with you.